again, it's time for Current Events with Martin Kidston, the founding editor of the Missoula Current. And Martin, thanks so much for being with us here. And there's a story out there that I know that you're kind of tinkering with and looking at, dealing with runoff in the South Hills and some earthquakes too. So how does that all fit together?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that came up in a city council committee this week was issues of runoff in the South Hills. And the city is going to be addressing that runoff in a variety of ways, three primary ways specifically. But part of it goes back to the earthquakes we had in 2016 and 2020. And I'm sure some Missoula folks remember that. But those earthquakes up into springs and some seeps up in the South Hills. And that water, as it bubbles up, is running on the roads. And of course, at this time of year, that turns the roads to an ice skating rink, which causes problems, especially in hilly terrain. So on that particular issue, the city is going to be extending the stormwater and installing some additional drains along the street to try to capture that water and divert it back into the stormwater system. And the other part about this project that I found interesting is that at the base of the South Hills, there's that cattail corner. It's about a 3-acre park with all the cattails and the birds that sing. It's kind of a nice place, but that really is designed to capture stormwater that comes out of the South Hills. And over the last 20 years, the sedimentation has kind of begun to fill that pond. So it's not working as a retention center as well as it could. And the cattails have also overgrown and taken over the pond, which reduces its biodiversity. So this summer, the city is going to be doing some work on their pond. They're going to increase the retention rate by removing some sediment, and then you're removing some of the cattails as well to try to improve the biodiversity. And they'll be putting in some dry well pumps around it to try to help that issue as well. So those are kind of interesting things that I didn't know anything about until last week.
And I walk over by those cattails from time to time, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I know another thing that you're following and that the county is looking at involves the recreation site at Sharon. Tell us about that. That's relatively new to me, that a particular discussion.
Well, I know it's the middle of winter, but it's never too soon to look forward to the float hatch on the river. And of course, anybody who floats the river probably has put in at a time or two. It's Sharon. It's just there in East Missoula. And you're lucky if you can find a parking spot in that tiny little parking lot. Parking up and down the highway. And on hot summer days, there's cars lined up and down that road, and it's really hard to drive to the road, let alone walk along the highway carrying inner tubes and float gear and not get hit by a car as it's going down the highway. It's been a concern of the counties for a long time. So finally, after a couple of years of work, this summer they're going to be installing an 84 spot parking lots just north of the existing parking lots, and there will be a trail connecting that new parking lot with the put-in site. So those 84 additional spots will go a long way in helping alleviate some of the dangers parking along that highway during summer days.
Yes, I've seen the traffic jam there, if you will, with humans and cars, and that looks like a really dangerous area, and it's amazing maybe that more people haven't been impacted by that.
Yeah, it's that's the case. That's been their concern for a long time. It is a dangerous situation, and it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt or worse. There's a lot of kids there, and a lot of river toys. So having a legitimate parking lot will really go a long ways in making that a safer experience for everybody.
All right, Martin, well, thank you so much for being with us. As usual on Current Events, we appreciate it, and we'll see you back here next week.
You bet. Take care.